Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Today we're gonna go from that mess to just being plain sexy. Look at that. Stay tuned and see how I do it. Okay, everybody, so today we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut this transom out. As you can see, it's got a lot of flex to it, and that is because the wood is all rotted out. So I have made a little cutoff wheel, a little grinder here, so we're gonna try as best we can to cut that out without cutting through the actual hull, because that would suck. And go through here, try to just cut everything out, and then from there we're going to trace out some cardboard to make sure everything fits when we get it all cleaned up. And after that, I have some Kuza board. We will cut the Kuza board to fit and secure it, epoxy it into place on this back plate. And then from there, that'll probably be it, and then we will kind of fiberglass over that, and the back plate will be done. What you're about to see here is just pure neglect. That at one time was plywood sheets. All in all, the transom was built correctly. It's 2 plywood sheets that are sandwiched together. However, this is what happens when you don't seal your wood properly or use the proper components in it. Right now we're going to go ahead and use the proper components. So what I'm cutting here is actually Kuza board. This is entirely rot resistant, moisture resistant. It adheres well with any epoxy or polyester resin. Doesn't break down, holds its shape. Pretty much when you replace a transom or any part in your watercraft with this type of material, it's a permanent fix. You will not have to ever replace it. And cutting Kuza is just like cutting wood. It's very easy. Okay guys, so got transoms cut, got Kuza, so what I'm actually going to do is I've got a second piece that I cut a little bit bigger, so it's actually going to get glued onto it, a little bit like that. and it makes it a lot thicker. So, okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of this Bondo filler, and here in these gaps, you see I stick my fingers in there. I'm going to fill these up with the Bondo filler. Okay, fill them up in there. Kind of stuff some stuff, you know, kind of get it built up down in there too. And then this is going to get glued to the back of this. So in this part right here, you can see this is actually where I'm adding a two-part epoxy resin. I'm giving the transom here just some extra width and thickness to it, just to be a little bit more sturdy. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to come in, we're going to sand this down a little bit, kind of make sure everything's nice, level, and even. We just got some high spots. Going to kind of sand down some of the fiberglass filler, just so that way everything's a little bit more smooth. Alright, so I went ahead and I've gotten everything sanded, actually put in some more filler down here in the bottom. I've got some chop strand cut, so what I'm going to go ahead and do, got everything set up here. It'll take me a minute to get everything together, but so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wet this all out. And I've got my edges taped here because I don't want the resin coming on my gel coat. So that should stop it. And then once I wet this out, I'm going to flip this chop strand over, kind of get it in, get it nice and flat. And then I've got some pieces cut that I'm going to lay in on these strips down here, to come down through here, okay? And then I'm going to get all that wetted out. Now I'll probably let that sit for a minute and I'll cut a larger piece of chop strand, and then I'm going to come over all of that in one solid piece. So then that should tie it all in, okay? Once that's done, I'll more than likely let it sit overnight. These strips that are being placed in here right now are more along the lines to build thickness and to create an overlapping structure, but since this is all chop strand, it will all kind of blend in and mesh together. This tool here is used to make sure that your corners are nice, flat, and to make sure that also no air bubbles are also trapped in there. The next one that is being used is also a roller. This will also make sure that you have a uniform coverage and spread of your resin over your fiberglass there. It also will remove any air bubbles and prevent any voids in your fiberglass. It's best you run this over many times, but you want to kind of go smooth and be very steady with it, at least with some firm pressure. Try not to go too fast because you can inevitably cause more bubbles to be put in there. With all the fiberglass wetted out, I went ahead and added more strips and another large piece over it. This will also build up a lot more thickness and kind of just give it a lot more strands to bond and overall strengthen it together. So with this part, once again, you're going to want to go ahead and roll that out just to make sure you don't have any air bubbles. And if you can see white as you can down at the bottom on that fiberglass, that means that your actual glass is not wetted out. And you will need to make sure that you do get that wetted, or it will cause a void, which will be an air pocket, and if something was to hit that, it could crack it. And you'll be repairing it later on, so try to avoid that. So now we can see here that actually the transom is now white. Now I didn't actually get that on film, and what I did is I put a white pigment in my polyester resin and painted that on. And here I'm using a roller. I was just kind of trying out to see what the overall coverage would be, trying to get more of a smooth surface. When you use chop strand, it can kind of be a little wavy and everything. Now I do have biaxial that will be going over this as a very last step. I won't be getting it filmed, but I will also be using pigmented polyester resin, and that is because that area is where my decks are going to be, and all of that is going to be white on the inside anyways when I paint it. So to kind of hide any imperfections, better to use white as it is. I do not recommend using a roller like this as I did. It wasted a lot of the product in the resin and kind of gave it not a very good coverage. I will say this though, on an older boat like this, I went ahead and I spread the resin out all over, just so that way when I do lay down glass, it has something good to bond with it. Because when I put that polyester resin over there and re-wet it out and lay the glass back down, it will reactivate it. So as we can see here, I'm going to go ahead and coat the sides and the floor with some resin. This is just so when I do lay glass down after installing my deck supports, that I'll have a greater adhesion with the actual glass. I would actually recommend not doing this with a roller, but instead doing it with a brush. With roller, like I said, you kind of waste a lot of the resin. However, thanks for watching. This is pretty much it, guys. This is how you can, build a rock-solid transom that will last the life of your boat. It will outlast you, that is. One thing that I do plan on doing here is that with the transom being as thick as it is, I didn't actually try to see if my outboard can fit on there, but I do plan on installing an adjustable jack plate, so I'm really not worried about it. Don't forget, guys, go ahead and like and subscribe, so that way you can and click the notification bell on there, so when I do upload new content, you can be the first to know.